me to be a part of this instruction course. I will be kickstarting this instruction course by first enumerating the magnitude of the problem of pediatric blindness. So let us start with a few definitions. A child is any individual whose age less than 16 years. Blindness has been defined as a corrected visual acuity in the better eye of less than 3/60, and severe visual impairment is considered to be a corrected visual acuity in the better eye of less than 6/60. A few percentages. It is important to know that out of the 1.4 million people who are blind in the world, out of the 45 million people who are blind in the world, 1.4 million are children. This forms approximately 3% of the total blind population of the world. Out of this 1.4 million, almost 3/4 of the world's blind children live in the poorest nations of Africa and Asia, which includes India. In our country, 1 out of every 1,000 children is blind. So if we see that there are 400 million children in India, almost 6,80,000 of them may be considered to be functionally blind. Despite the low prevalence of blindness, why is childhood blindness a priority under Vision 2020, the right to sight? This is because a child who is blind has a lifetime of blindness ahead of him. It adversely affects his psychomotor, social as well as emotional development. Blind children also have a higher rate of mortality. Almost 50% of blindness in children may be due to avoidable causes. It has been said that restoring the sight of one child who is blind due to cataract may be equivalent to restoring the sight of 10 elderly individuals. Why the urgency in tackling pediatric blindness? This is because children are born with an immature visual system. Failure of normal visual maturation leads to loss of vision or amblyopia, which cannot be corrected in later life. If we compare this table, which compares the causes of blindness among adults and children, we can see that almost 80% of the blindness in adults is due to either refractive error or cataract, and hence is easily treatable. Whereas in children, only 50% of the causes of blindness are avoidable or treatable, and these consist mainly of refractive error, vitamin A deficiency and cataract. There is a brief enumeration of the causes of childhood blindness. There are several studies which have been done in India, both blind school studies and prevalence studies, but in the general population, but most of them are in agreement that the main causes which can be treatable or which should be targeted are corneal scarring secondary to vitamin A deficiency and cataract and the complications after its treatment. It is necessary to note that these studies may have a false underestimation of the prevalence of blindness. This is because blind children have a very high death rate as a result of either neglect after they go blind or as a result of the systemic complications which precipitated the blindness in the first place, which may be vitamin A deficiency precipitated by measles or congenital rubella syndrome. There is also a skewed sex ratio, especially in blind school studies. It has been noted that the number of boys outnumber girls. This may be because blind girls may have a higher mortality rate due to neglect, or parents may seek care for boys preferentially. Let's go into each of the causes of blindness one by one. Corneal scarring, which is a major cause of blindness in India, results mainly as a result of vitamin A deficiency, which may be precipitated by measles infection. It may be due to poorly treated ophthalmia neonatorum as well as harmful traditional remedies. Corneal complications secondary to vitamin A deficiency may be the single most important cause of childhood blindness and low vision in India. The prevalence of corneal scarring secondary to vitamin A deficiency ranges from 7.5% in Kerala to almost 27% in Madhya Pradesh, and again there is a wide variation between urban and rural centers. Childhood cataract is one of the most treatable causes of childhood blindness, with a variable prevalence from around 12% in India to almost 32.5% in Bangladesh. Blindness secondary to congenital cataract can occur consequent to untreated cataract, uncorrected aphakia and consequent amblyopia. The prevalence of children with low vision or impaired vision is 2.35% to 2.75%, the variation being between urban and rural centers, which may be a further 8 million children who may have severely impaired vision. 50% of the children who are enrolled in blind schools may have low vision and may have functionally useful vision if handled appropriately. And only 3% of visually impaired children in developing countries have access to basic low vision care. If we look at this map, which gives it's a map of all the low vision services which are available in India, we can see that low vision care is basically centered in the urban centers and more towards southern India. In fact, there are huge states like Madhya Pradesh which may just have 1 or 2 centers with appropriate a team which can handle low vision services. However, the scenario is not all gloomy. So let's take a look at what are the steps which we have taken in combating the pediatric blindness. According to the WHO, an ideal, as has been previously also mentioned, pediatric eye care cannot be done by an individual, but it requires the coordination of a team which can consist of an ophthalmologist, an anesthetist, an optometrist, a nurse, a counselor and an outreach coordinator. The WHO suggests that there should be one pediatric ophthalmology service center per 10 million population. In India at present we have one pediatric ophthalmology center, we have 0.63 pediatric ophthalmology centers every 10 million. However, the situation is not as rosy as it sounds by the numbers, because in name these there are multiple centers which may be offering pediatric ophthalmology care, but they may neither be equipped in infrastructure nor in human resources to provide proper care, because only 28.7% of eye hospitals provide pediatric eye care services, and only 3.6% of these actually are doing pediatric ophthalmic care on a regular basis and have an OPD of more than 15,000 a year and a surgical output of more than 750 a year. These are the equipment which has been defined as basic, essential and advanced OPD equipment which a pediatric eye care center should have, and it is shocking to see that even the basic equipment may be available in less than 40% of the centers offering pediatric eye care. Human resources again, only 41.7% of the centers have a pediatric trained ophthalmologist who may actually be an ophthalmologist who has received maybe 1 month of pediatric orientation in a higher center. In conclusion, our priorities are to reduce childhood blindness in India, a refractive error, cataract-related amblyopia and corneal diseases. Pediatric eye care services in India are inadequate and unevenly distributed. Thank you.